Now let us see one of the important topic of a C language called as a arrays. An array is a variable that can store multiple values of same data type with the same name is called as an array. So here you need to remember that array is also a variable. In the upcoming slides, I will be telling you what is the difference between a variable and an array. In this definition, you remember it is a variable, multiple values, same data type with the same name. So in the question, if they ask define array, you can say it as an array is a variable that can store multiple values of same data type with the same name. Now you may be having a question, why we need arrays? Arrays was introduced to overcome the problems of variables. So in the previous definition, I was telling you that I will be telling you what is the difference between variable and arrays. See, if you remember a variable, in one variable we can store only one value at one time. We can't store multiple values at the same time. This is the one major drawback of a variable. For example, if I want to store 5 different values, then I need 5 variables. Each value will be stored onto a single variable. Suppose if I want to store 500 values, how many variables I need? I need 500 variables I need. That means one value is equals to one variable at one time. This is the first drawback. Second drawback is that variables will be get stored onto a memory randomly. In the memory, wherever there is a availability, the variables will be get stored. Because of this, accessing the variables will be very difficult. So these two problems can be get solved by using an arrays. Suppose if I want to store two values, then also I can use the arrays. If I want to store 200 values, then also I can use a single array. Now let us see some of the applications of an array. Mainly arrays are used with mathematical concepts such as vectors and matrices. Matrices we are going to discuss in the upcoming topic. Second main application of an array is called as a database. Database is one of the vast subject. So examples for this database can be Oracle, SQL, MySQL, etc. Using arrays, we can implement other data structures such as lists, heap, hash table, DQ, queues, and stacks. So these data structures, I will be making a separate video where you can refer it in the future. So next application is called as a searching and sorting applications. See, in the real time, we are having many number of applications, but for this particular tutorial, I have been sticked only to with 4 applications. Now, what are the operations on arrays? See, on an array, first we can insert an element into an array. That is the first operation. Second operation is that removing an element from an array. Nothing but deleting an element from an array. Updating an element, whatever the values you have been inserted, that can be get modified. That modify we call it as a updating. Suppose if I have 2 or more arrays, we can merge it into a single array. Merging is nothing but joining or clubbing. The process what we discussed in the step 4, if the reverse we can do it in the step 5. That means from a single array we can divide it into multiple arrays. We call it as a slicing also. So these are the 5 operations where we can perform on arrays. Define the term array. What is the need of an array? As a one question they may ask you. Define the term array and list the operations on arrays. We will try to understand the arrays using a picture before going it in the depth. See, in the first figure, what you people can see? Yes, you can see some small houses. See, all houses, if you clearly observe, they are all of same type. Even in terms of a color, in terms of a size, everything is going to match. How many number of houses are there? Yes, there are 8 houses are there. Whether all 8 houses are in the same line? No. How many lines I'm having here? I'm having 2 lines. So each line we call as a row. ROW, row. So how many rows I have now? I am having 2 rows. See, if I consider the first row, how many columns I can see? First, 2, 3, 4. So I'm having totally 4 columns. So arrangement of this particular houses in the form of a row and a column is called as an array. Is it clear? In the another example, we can say a dots. A red color dots have been got arranged in the fashion of 4 rows and with 6 columns. These dots we can call as an elements of an array. Here houses are called as an elements, nothing but a values. Here dots are called as a values. The same 4 rows 6 column dots can be even represented as 6 rows 4 columns. Now let us take one more example. Normally in apartments we will be having many number of floors. For example, let me consider an apartment consists of 7 floors and each floor is having 5 flats. Now if a postman wants to deliver a letter to a particular house which is in the apartment, is it possible for the postman to climb or to go in the lift and deliver the letter? For all the particular flats it is not possible. So what they do is that at the ground level they will keep one post box. That post box will be containing some small containers. On each container they mention the flat number. So based on the letter address with a flat number, the postman will be inserting a cover or a letter or a courier into the respective box. This is a one example I try to explain the concept of arrays. That means all the containers will be belonging to the same apartment. Now let me take one more example where employees have been stored their helmets into the respective shelves. Each shelf is having a single helmet. This is also an example for an array. Now this is an example for the array and it is called as a pigeonhole. There are totally 9 blocks are there. In the 9 blocks pigeons will be get stored. There is another particular example where we are having 3 people called as apple, cherry and a strawberry. So these 3 people will be working the particular sales data onto the respective weekdays. So even this is also example for the arrays. Let's discuss about the memory locations of a RAM. RAM is called as a random access memory, which is an example for the primary memory. There are 2 types of memory. One is a primary memory, another one is a secondary memory. Whenever you work with the C language, all the data which is related with the C program will be dumped or stored onto this RAM itself. The image of the RAM I have been shown you in the figure. These are the 2 individual RAM pieces. So what does the RAM consist of? Means a RAM consists of memory locations. These are the memory locations, or you can also consider as group of memories, where each memory location is of 1 byte by default. Every memory location will be having an address for the sake of identification. That address will start always from 0. You can't give the address as a negative value or a floating value. This address will be in the fashion of a hexadecimal number system. The same address we consider in the form of an index in terms of array programs. So the values what you see here U, B, F, D, A, E, C, those are considered as a values. In a RAM you can store alphabets as a value, numbers as a value, songs as a value, video as a value, images as a value. Next one is types of arrays. There are 2 types of arrays in C language. First one is called as a one-dimensional array. Another one is called as a multi-dimensional array. One-dimensional array we can also call as a single-dimensional array. Whereas multi-dimensional array examples are 2-dimensional array, 3-dimensional array, 4-dimensional array and so on. Here the word dimension means direction or perspective. Based on the particular direction, we are going to consider what type of an array it is. Let us see a particular graph, a symbol. See, what does the graph consist of? It consists of an x-axis and a y-axis. And this side it is x dash and y dash. This is the particular representation of a graph. The same concepts we use it even in terms of arrays also. This is a pictorial representation of an array. See the first figure what you can see here, this is called as a one-dimensional array. I told you dimension is nothing but a direction. If you represent a particular array only in one direction is called as a one-dimensional array. Now the question comes that in which direction we can represent. You can represent an array either horizontal or vertical. So here in the figure we have been represented in the form of a horizontal only. So this is called as a one-dimensional array. In the next figure we are having a particular two rows and with three columns. That means here an array has been represented in the form of a row as well as a column. So that is the reason we call it as a 2D array. That means it comes under multi-dimension. If any array which is having more than one dimension or one direction, we put it in the category of a multi-dimension itself. Next one is called as a 3D array. So in the 3D array, to understand it very clearly, you can see this particular graph. See, for 3D array, we should have three directions. First direction is the x-axis. Second direction is a y-axis. So two directions has completed. But it is a 3D array. Then where is the third direction? The third direction we call it as a z-axis, which is a rotatable axis. So I hope that you people have been understood the concept of arrays. If you have any particular questions, comment it. I will try to discuss it in the next class.